It started with a moment she never thought would matter. At least, that's what she told herself. Because if she admitted the truth, she would have to admit that the moment had been building for weeks. The first time she noticed him, it was nothing special, just another ordinary afternoon. Another conversation that should have faded like all the others. But there was something about the way he looked at her. Not bold, not inappropriate, just attentive. Like he was actually listening, and for reasons she couldn't explain. That stayed with her. She went home that night and tried to forget about it. Life was already complicated enough. She had responsibilities, expectations, a life that was supposed to follow a certain path. There was no room for distractions, no room for confusing feelings. But the strange thing about feelings is they rarely ask for permission. The next time they met, the conversation lasted a little longer. Then a little longer after that. At first, it was harmless. Just small talk, casual jokes, a few messages here and there. Nothing that would raise suspicion. Nothing that would make anyone stop and question what was happening. That's what she kept telling herself. It's just conversation. It doesn't mean anything. But late at night, when everything was quiet and her phone lit up with his name, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Excitement. And that scared her more than anything, because she knew where excitement like that could lead. Days turned into weeks, and slowly something invisible started growing between them. It wasn't spoken out loud. Neither of them said it. But it was there, in the pauses between words, in the way their conversations lingered, in the way silence suddenly felt charged with something heavier. She tried to pull back. More than once. There were nights she stared at her phone and refused to reply. Moments she told herself this had already gone too far. But every time she tried to step away, he somehow pulled her back without even trying. Maybe it was the way he remembered the smallest things about her, or the way he made her laugh on days when she felt invisible to everyone else, or maybe it was simply the dangerous comfort of feeling understood. And that's how the line began to blur, not all at once. Slowly. So slowly she didn't realize it was happening. Until the night everything changed. It was late, later than usual. The kind of quiet night where the world feels slower, heavier, almost like time itself is holding its breath. They weren't supposed to meet that evening. In fact, the entire situation felt like a coincidence that shouldn't have happened. But there they were, standing just a few feet apart. The air between them felt different than it ever had before. The casual ease of their conversations was gone, replaced by something unspoken. Something that made her heart beat faster. For a moment, neither of them said anything, and in that silence, she felt the weight of everything she had been avoiding. Every message, every laugh, every lingering look, all of it had led to this exact moment. Her mind told her to leave. Right now, before things crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But her heart wasn't listening. He said something simple, just a quiet sentence, barely louder than the night around them. I didn't plan for any of this either, and somehow those words made everything worse. Because she knew he meant it. This wasn't manipulation. It wasn't a game. It was real, and real feelings are the hardest ones to walk away from. Her chest tightened as 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. Every reason she shouldn't be here. Every consequence waiting on the other side of one wrong decision. She knew exactly what this moment meant. If she walked away now, the story would end here. Nothing would happen. Life would go back to normal. But if she stayed, everything could change. For a few seconds, the world felt perfectly still. No noise, no movement, just the sound of her own heartbeat. And that's when it happened. Not some dramatic move. Not a sudden confession. Just a small step closer. One step. That was all it took. Because in that single step, she felt the invisible line disappear. And suddenly all the rules she had been holding on to felt distant. Almost meaningless. He looked at her, searching her face like he was waiting for her to decide what happened next. And deep down, she knew the truth. This moment wasn't his choice. It was hers. Her hands trembled slightly as she stood there, caught between two completely different versions of her life. The safe one and the uncertain one. 5 seconds passed, then 10. And in those quiet seconds, something inside her finally gave in. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe it was simply the human need to feel wanted. Whatever the reason, she stopped fighting it. The hesitation in her eyes softened. The distance between them disappeared. And in that quiet moment, she made a decision she knew she could never take back. Because sometimes the most life-changing choices don't happen with loud declarations. Sometimes they happen in silence. In a single moment, a single step, a single choice. The moment she gave in, and the truth is, it wasn't the moment itself that would change her life. It was everything that came after.